Who shot Charlie Kirk? Nobody. According to physics, they shot into the trunk.
Over the last 10 years, counting or not counting gang violence? Great.
Welcome back to the studio, audio detectives. Yes, it's true, Charles Kirk faked his death, and we're gonna prove it using good old standard physics. We're gonna debunk that shot into the trunk. Are you ready? Let's delve into the details.
I looked at all the clips that had a good enough quality to analyze them with the software Audacity. Then I calculated the angles, distances, and crack thumb deltas. We'll take a look into two results on each side. For a long time, two options looked very promising. Either Kirk was shot by a bullet with 2,600 feet per second impact velocity, or the bullet was fired into the trunk with 2,500 feet per second. But only one of them turned out to be true in the end.
Not counting gang violence. Great.
Let's look at our first recording. We have a match. According to this audio observation, Kirk could have been struck by a bullet shot from the sniper's nest.
Not counting gang violence. Great.
Could the sniper also have shot into the trunk? Yes. Again, we have a perfect match.
Counting gang violence. Great.
We move on to the next recording on Kirk's right side. Looks good. Once more, the calculation is confirmed by the audio observation.
Counting gang violence. Great.
Does this second recording on the right side allow a shot into the trunk too? As precisely as possible, looks like we are heading for a tiebreaker. There's more to this specific perspective. Audio Freak noted that the left microphone seemed to pick up the sound a bit earlier. We could explain this intuitively with a shot into the trunk, but note that this alone does not rule out a shot at Kirk.
The recordings on Kirk's right side proved a bit inconclusive. Let's move on to the recordings on the left side. These will definitely tell us where the shot was fired to.
First, we're going to focus on this speaker number 5 next to the small tent outside of the auditorium. The smooth concrete cubes reflect the echoes of that speaker number 5. That remote speaker is not timed in sync with the 4 other speakers in front of Kirk. Does this widely known recording on the left side of Kirk support a shot at Kirk? No, the recorded thump arrived significantly earlier than in the calculations. Will the calculated thump of the trunk shot agree with the recording? Perfect. We can overlay the crack thump analyses of the two options. There's hardly any difference between these two simulations at first glance. When we zoom in, we can identify a sound gap of 0.018 seconds. This means that the shot gap of 15 feet or 4.5 meters was amplified to a sound gap of 20 feet or 6 meters. That's why they tried to make all the cameras in that zone stop recording just before the shots using drones. Here we can see Adam Bartholomew, aka Life is Driving, who still managed to record that footage. His Ethernet device bypassed the local Wi-Fi.
Do you realize that? That was a stroke of genius by you, Adam.
You think so?
I know so.
One thing that...
Great news for all Charlie Kirk fans, he wasn't shot. And they used all these drones to withhold that wonderful information from us. Can a second recording on the left side confirm our hopes?
The direct path between sniper and the person recording is obstructed here, albeit very slightly. We do account for that in our calculations. Is the Kirk shot on time now? No, it is significantly too late again.
Not counting gang violence.
Will the calculations of a trunk shot match the recordings on the left side for the second time in a row and for the 4th time in a row on both sides? That's what I call a perfect sweep. And that's also how it was throughout the entire extensive audio analysis. All the results were very consistent. If we only evaluate the recordings on the right side of Kirk, then both options are bang on. However, when we also take into account the recordings on the left side, the Kirk shot option fails miserably, while the trunk shot option continues to agree with the recordings wonderfully.
Alright, so it was a shot into the trunk, but did this then damage the interior of the car? Time to check out some serious junk in the trunk.
Here's what they most likely shot into: a dark block of ballistic rubber. Put that into the trunk and it is concealed decently. They could have also reinforced the interior of the trunk with several layers of a bulletproof material similar to a bulletproof vest.
Charlie Kirk defended the Second Amendment all his life. He said that keeping the right to wear firearms is worth having some victims at public shootings. Now we find out that Charlie Kirk faked his own death as a public shooting. Hard to make sense of that. So the questions remain. How did Charlie Kirk fake his death, and why did he fake his death? Let's not forget, there is a man's life on the line here, and that's Tyler Robinson.
Here is an unaltered photo of Charlie Kirk just minutes before the shot. The lower left jaw and neck do not look natural and suggest there is a fake blood tube concealed under a lot of makeup there. On the right side you can see how they prepared an actor for a slasher movie in the year 2012. There are a lot of things wrong with the shirt puff. Here the shirt is already puffing, but there's no wound of a bullet that should have caused that air puff. This reverses cause and effect. The shirt then bounces up way too high above the trajectory to be explained by the buoyancy of a supersonic bullet alone. Was it then a pendant that caused the shot bounce? No, I avoid the graphic images here, but Kirk can be observed rotating counterclockwise after the shot. A pendant would have then rotated clockwise to conserve the angular momentum, and it would have bounced up to his right cheek and not to the observed left cheek. Furthermore, all the nerves in the brachial plexus under the entry wound would have been damaged, leaving his left arm paralyzed, but Kirk clearly was observed lifting his left arm after the shot. Again, I avoid the graphic images here.
And the list of contradictory physiological observations goes on. We observed a continuous bloodstream and not a pulsating bloodstream, which would be required by a carotid artery being hit. There also was no exit wound of the bullet. Furthermore, Charlie Kirk went into a pugilist pose without any physiological cause. This pose is typically caused by a strong punch to the brain, like a knockout in boxing. Ironically, this also highlighted that Charlie Kirk lifted his left arm that would have been paralyzed by a shot into the plexus brachialis. It appeared the entire team of Charlie Kirk around him helped him fake his death. The question remains, why did they so willingly stage his death at all?
What a great team effort! Some 2 minutes before the shot, the bodyguard receives an SMS with some final instructions. Half a minute later, he reminds Kirk the fake shooting is going to take place. 1 minute before the shot, an audio guy reminds Kirk to pick up the mic with his left hand now, to not interfere with the staging routine later on. And then it's Kirk himself who starts the countdown by tipping his nose. The trunk opens, Kirk confirms by tipping his cap in his ear, and the bodyguard also gives his affirmative signal. Then the decoy shot into the trunk triggers the special effects air puff under the shirt, and the fake blood tube starts spilling out. In the meantime, they also close the trunk to hide its content from the spectators fleeing the stands. 19 seconds after the shot, we can observe the trunk closed. And last but not least, a team member gives us the explanation of why they faked Charlie Kirk's death. He removes the SD card from the camera to prevent the last-minute conversation on the podium from ever getting leaked to the public. Again.
Finally, we have the explanation why they faked Charlie Kirk's death. It was all a distraction from the debunked staging of Donald Trump's rally at Butler. We posted the video on September 1st and they had to do something because this video gained attention and it got more and more views every day. So they had to scramble and they decided to sacrifice the social media actor Charlie Kirk in a staged shooting. And now we debunked the Kirk shooting as well as fake. What will happen now? Will they now stage yet another shooting to distract from this debunk? And the question is, who will they decide to fake kill next?